Back at it again with another 5 Temptations of the CEO by Patrick Lencioni video. Today, I'm Justin Brock and I want to go over invulnerability over trust. So this is one of the core temptations of a CEO or a leader. What Patrick is talking about here is if I am cherishing the idea of not appearing vulnerable over building trust with my team members, I can open myself up to a chasm of possibilities that are terrible, right? And it also creates this other nuanced concept where you establish with your other leaders in your organization that they should do the same thing, that vulnerability is not acceptable. What is actually the better thing for your business, and that is being vulnerable to a point that people actually think you're authentic. If you're not authentic, if you're not vulnerable, if you're not someone who talks about failure in a way or talks about issues in a way that gives people the confidence to fail, it can create failure to launch in your business. It can create momentum crushing issues, and it can also make it where people are afraid to even tell you that they have failed. The truth is that no matter who you look up to in the world, that they have failed. Probably the more you look up to them, the more they have failed and they choose to keep on going. And most of them are very vocal about it. It's probably why you watch them. So, invulnerability over trust. Give employees confidence to fail. Number one. Now, why would I say give them the confidence to fail? It's not that we want an employee or a team member to fail, but we do want them to have the confidence to go out and try and know that if it doesn't work out, we're not going to be over here chastising them. We're going to be like rewarding them for trying and then learning from that data that they gathered in that failure of how can we come back and address it in the future. This doesn't mean not to go out and try to get relevant information to make a good decision. It doesn't mean trying to, figure out what can I try and what can I try. But I was just at lunch earlier with Jackson Taylor, one of our sales managers, and he was talking about reading First 90 Days and how a lot of it is about making sure that he is confident in making decisions, going out and trying things. And I told him that the biggest mistake we could make as leaders is not giving people like him and other people on our team the confidence to go out and make those decisions. I'd much rather him break through a barrier of like, hey, maybe we don't do that in the future and learn the hard way, than him to be so afraid to make a decision that there's tons of decisions that he should be making that he doesn't make for fear of making those decisions. Let's find where those breaking points are. Let's not ever pursue anything because we're afraid that we're already at a breaking point that may or may not even exist. Next, communicate. Let's foster transparency. Make sure you have an open communication. I was watching a video with the NVIDIA CEO, and he was talking about how they do all group counseling sessions. Everything's out in the open. It's extremely, extremely transparent. And while I'll get to it in a minute, I do value individual one-on-one communication as well. I think it is important for you to have a fairly transparent, 95% transparent environment where everybody's talking about it. Of course, there are those nuanced conversations that probably need to happen individually. But for the most part, if we're just out here sharing that we're all in goal alignment and working together and being transparent, we can foster a great environment for communication, right? Next, be vulnerable, share failures. If you're a CEO, if you're in a leadership position, share your failures. It's okay that you have failed. If you have not failed, you probably wouldn't be anyone worth following, because the moment you do fail, you're going to get crushed, and we don't even know how you will respond to it yet because you haven't been there. So share the failures, share your shortcomings within reason. If you have some really weird, maybe keep that to yourself. I'm just kidding. But if you have a failure, if you've done something wrong, tell people about it. It's cool. It's cool. Nobody cares. Be accountable. Reward taking responsibility. When someone steps up and say, hey, that was my fault, here's what I'm going to do to correct it, make sure that publicly you acknowledge that they are taking that responsibility. Instead of chastising them for failure or even giving the appearance that you're disappointed in something that happened, make sure you take that as a way to give employees the confidence to fail. When they see that someone messed up and you're giving them kudos for taking responsibility for that mess up, it's going to give them the confidence to know, hey, I'm going to try some stuff. If it doesn't work out, I know Justin's not going to bite my head off. He's going to be behind me and we're going to move on. And as long as I take responsibility for my actions and correct things, we'll be good to go. Meet individually. Like I was talking about earlier, that NVIDIA CEO is talking about these group discussions, which I completely agree with. But occasionally it is important to meet individually, to discuss goals individually, and make sure that you and the individuals on your team are in goal alignment. You, them, and the business, the organization has to be in goal alignment. What can the business do for them so that they will enthusiastically do what they need to for the business that they're a part of? And lastly, let's encourage collaboration. If we're encourage collaboration versus competition, collaboration over competition, a little healthy competition on a sales floor, etc., is good. We do want people to compete because we want them to drive, but collaboration over competition or friendly competition is the way to go. So hey, when you're looking at these 5 temptations, make sure not to choose invulnerability over trust. You are vulnerable. You can be vulnerable, not like a little wussy boy, but make sure that you are vulnerable when there is a need for it. People will believe that it's authentic. Just be yourself. That's it for today's video. That's a video. Put that on YouTube, bro.